Experience has taught law enforcement that fighting meth is a dangerous and toxic business. With growing evidence that the risk of chemical exposure is higher than previously thought, police in many parts of the country now take every precaution. But no amount of protective gear could have prepared Lieutenant Lori Moriarty for what she encountered at one meth lab in April of 2002.
6 or 8 of the SWAT officers went in, and they started bringing out a female, they brought out a male, so I knew that the arrests were taking place in the house. And I was sitting out there watching, all of a sudden the SWAT team carry out a little baby, a 14-month-old boy. And I was in shock to watch 2 SWAT officers dressed in protective clothing and a self-contained breathing apparatus with oxygen carry out a 14-month-old child wearing a diaper. I thought, I have spent the last year protecting everybody that works for me, and I have done nothing or have even thought about protecting children that live in these environments 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's a situation narcotics officers often face, removing children from homes where meth addiction has taken priority over parenting.
They split the kids in 2 different police cars, and they were screaming, you know, reaching their little hands out the windows, and they drove off separately.
Jennifer Bennett's case is typical. She was high on meth when her 2 young children were taken away. Since her children's custody case is unresolved, Denver Social Services would not allow them to be filmed. But Jennifer is now trying to get her kids back. She is in treatment and submits drug tests every week.
Opiates are good. Good girl.
To have any chance of regaining custody, she must stay off the drug.
It's really difficult to stay clean. Stresses about being able to pay your bills and everything else that goes on with life. It's really hard not to just say F it and go out and use.
Jennifer's case reflects an alarming national trend. Unlike other illegal drugs, roughly 50% of meth users are women, which often means a direct hit on the family. Child welfare agencies across the country have recently reported increases in the number of children taken from parents because of methamphetamine.
In the past, when we would do arrests or drug investigations, a lot of times we were arresting males, and we would leave the children with the women. It's changed. Now we're going into the homes and we're arresting the moms, and the moms have the children with them.
She was always with me. My daughter was always like there with me, and people would distract her while I would get up and go, you know, take my hits or whatever. And then if I was at home by myself doing it, then I would use the bathroom, you know, and I would tell her, no, I'm just going to the bathroom.
33-year-old Catherine Romero was smoking meth every day when social services took her 1-year-old daughter away. She was also 6 months pregnant with her second child.
I was really worried. I was worried that, you know, my gosh, she's going to come out deformed, and even though I was getting high, I would force myself to eat like 1 time a day at least, because I would go days without eating sometimes. But it still wasn't enough, because all the drugs that I was doing was totally outweighing, you know, my 1 meal a day and my prenatal vitamins, so.
And Catherine kept using right up until she was arrested. 3 months later, when her daughter was born, the baby was tested for methamphetamine. The test was negative, and Catherine was allowed to retain custody of her newborn daughter.
When she was born healthy, I was very happy, and when I was pregnant and I was getting high, I wasn't sure how I felt about her. Now, I couldn't imagine my life without having her.
Oh, my little girl, don't cry.
But Catherine's older daughter has been stuck in limbo for the past 7 months. In that time, Catherine has been in treatment for her addiction, where she has attended counseling, submitted to drug tests, and most importantly, stayed clean. Now she's meeting with her treatment specialist to discuss regaining custody of her older daughter.
In treatment, when you said you learned a lot about methamphetamines, do you remember one thing that sticks out?
You know, you learn grounding in treatment, and you learned, you know, breathing exercises and that kind of thing, and, you know, but my main motivation, everything that I am staying clean for is my kids.
The kids. We are so proud of you.
I'm proud of myself, too.
Few things are more peaceful than a baby sleeping in a playpen. Just like this baby, 1-year-old Jonna Osborne didn't have a care in the world until deputies say a meth lab exploded and turned her world upside down.
The shake and bakes are usually done in a plastic bottle. They're not made to contain the amount of pressure that's created when the meth is cooking. Occasionally they will erupt and they will explode. The flames and the liquid come out like a flamethrower.
Deputies believe a fire like that from her father's meth lab burned little Jonna Osborne on the morning of August 23rd, leaving her helpless and in unbelievable pain.
Initially, it looked like a large portion of it was second degree, which unfortunately it converted and ended up being third degree, and we had to skin graft it.
John Osborne says it was not fire from a meth explosion that burned his daughter.
I was going to cook me some French fries. I put some oil on the stove. I went to the bathroom, used the restroom, come back to the kitchen, washed my hands, done it like that in the sink, and I looked over at the grease. It didn't look hot. Done my hand like that, and I walked in the grease. It started jumping. It jumped out.
Osborne says the pan went up in flames, so he grabbed it and tried to run outside with it, but says before he could get there, he tripped over his 1-month-old and landed in Jonna's playpen, burning her with the hot grease.
I flip her out. Her mama gets her, and I tell her to call 911.
This is Jonna's playpen. When I showed Osborne this picture, he stared as if he didn't believe what he saw.
It wasn't like that when I flipped her out of it. No, my baby didn't stand there that long.
Then I showed Osborne this picture of his daughter, with burns on nearly half of her tiny body.
She got it bad, didn't she? Baby was asleep. I did. Still do. It's my baby.
Osborne wasn't at the trailer when deputies and firefighters arrived.
I had a warrant on me in Georgia, probation. And when the ambulance got there, I stepped around the corner. I did not leave my youngin' until the ambulance got there.
Also already in place.
Bay County, Florida Sheriff Frank McKeithen says Osborne's girlfriend and the infant's mother, Tessa Wege, told deputies and doctors the same story Osborne told me, that the baby was burned by a grease fire. At that time, deputies didn't have a reason to believe otherwise. But an investigation showed evidence of a meth lab in the trailer.
We found some lithium batteries which were actually peeled, and this is what they do to get the lithium out. In the bathroom, we found where they had separated a cold pack, and one of the packs was laying on the bathroom sink. Empty boxes of ephedrine. I mean, everything you needed to make meth with.
Deputies also found the pan Osborne said he was cooking in, but there weren't any burned French fries. When Jonna did not respond to treatment for grease burns, her mother finally confessed that Osborne was not cooking French fries.
State of Florida versus John Osborne. Would you come forward, please?
She actually told the guys that her husband was making meth. She had bought the Sudafed or the ephedrine to make it with.
Because of that, Jonna is still recovering from critical injuries.
A burn wound doesn't actually heal for at least a year. In children, it can be longer. So her body and the scarring will go through some changes.
physical scarring isn't the only issue Jonna will have to deal with as she gets older.
They do go through a lot of emotional things that we keep an eye on, and at different stages in life we address those to get her over them the best way that she can be gotten over.
Even though she might not have a burn mark here, she's going to always remember this, and she's going to always be affected. You can be a meth head and you can be a parent, but you can't be both.
I was there. The people that's here that's judging me wasn't there. I'm the one that's told it. I need my family back. I'll fight like hell.
Osborne will have to prove that to Judge Dee Dee Costello. He and Wege were in court October 8th. They both pleaded not guilty to charges of aggravated child abuse, manufacturing methamphetamine resulting in injury to a child, and possession of a listed chemical. They will go back to court on November 18th. Meanwhile, baby Jonna has been released from the hospital and is with a foster family in an undisclosed area. Jonna will have to make regular visits to see Dr. Fred Mullins. He says Jonna has done very well with treatment, but will never make a 100% recovery.
But Jennifer is not doing as well. The temptation to use proves too strong.
I just wanted to get high, honestly. Sometimes you just decide that, I don't even know how to explain it. I just wanted to get high.
Jennifer serves 15 days in jail for violating her probation.